The race session is at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmanville, Canada. Richard Ogden is first. David Forsyth from Ireland is second. David Kelsall is P3. Brian Patterson is P4. Neil Hancock is 5th. Mark Scott from Norway is P6. Glenfield from United Kingdom is 7th. Mac Shepard from United Kingdom is 8th. Rene Robertson is P9. Mikołaj Lański from Poland is P10. John Astrop from New Zealand is 11th. Richard Ogden is P1. "30 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. David Forsyth is P2. David Forsyth lost second to David Kelsall. Mac Shepard is 4th. Mark Scott in Quebec corner is P4. Glenfield is P6. Glenfield is now 5th. Rene Robertson is 6th. Rene Robertson passed Glenfield for P5. Glenfield is P6. David Forsyth is P4. David Forsyth lost P4 to Rene Robertson. Richard Ogden in turn 1 is P5. Best lap is a 1:43.916. 2.476 off the fastest lap. Richard Ogden lost P5 to Glenfield. Mikołaj Lański is 10th battling Neil Hancock. Mac Shepard is P2, 0.5 behind David Kelsall. Brian Patterson in Moss corner is P7. Best lap is a 1:45.963. 4.523 off the fastest lap. Mac Shepard from United Kingdom in Mario Andretti straightaway is P2, 0.1 behind David Kelsall. Rene Robertson in the Essies on lap 2 is P3, 0.2 behind Max Shepard. Brian Patterson is 6th, 0.3 behind David Forsyth. Rene Robertson in Clayton Corner is P3, 0.3 behind Max Shepard. Max Shepard in Quebec Corner is P3, 0.4 behind Rene Robertson. Richard Ogden in Turn 4 on Lap 3 is P8, 0.3 behind John Astrup. Rene Robertson in Mario Andretti straightaway is 2nd, 0.3 behind David Calsall. David Calsall in the Essies is P2, 0.1 behind Rene Robertson. Rene Robertson was 1.3 faster last lap. Max Shepard in White's Corner is P3, 0.4 behind David Calsall. "25 minutes remaining in the session. David Forsyth in Turn 1 is 7th, 0.4 behind John Astrup. John Astrup was 2.5 faster last lap. Max Shepard from United Kingdom in Quebec Corner is 3rd, 0.3 behind David Calsall. David Forsyth is P7, 0.8 behind John Astrup. Max Shepard in Mario Andretti straightaway is 3rd, 0.1 behind David Calsall. Max Shepard passed David Calsall for P2. Glenfield is 4th, 0.5 behind David Calsall. David Calsall is 3rd, 0.4 ahead of Glenfield. Glenfield in Quebec Corner is 4th, 0.3 behind David Calsall. Mark Scott in Clayton Corner is 10th. Best lap is a 1:34.700. 1.032 off the fastest lap. Neil Hancock exiting pits. Glenfield in Mario Andretti straightaway is P4, 0.1 behind David Calsall. David Calsall is P4 battling Glenfield. Mark Scott in Mario Andretti straightaway is 10th, 0.2 behind Mikołaj Lewiński. Mark Scott was 3.9 faster last lap. Mark Scott passed Mikołaj Lański for P9. Mikołaj Lański in the SEs is 10th, 0.2 behind Mark Scott. Mark Scott was 3.9 faster last lap. David Kelsall is P4, 0.8 behind Glenn Field. Max Shepard from United Kingdom in Mario Andretti straightaway is second, 1.0 behind Rene Robertson. David Kelsall is fourth, 0.9 behind Glenn Field. Brian Patterson is 5th, 1.0 behind David Kelsall. 20 minutes remaining in the session. David Kelsall in Quebec corner is 4th, 0.5 behind Glenn Field. Mark Scott is P9. Richard Ogden is 10th, 0.5 behind Mark Scott. Brian Patterson in the SEs on lap 7 is 5th, 0.3 behind David Kelsall. Brian Patterson was 0.6 faster last lap. David Kelsall in turn 1 is 4th, 0.4 ahead of Brian Patterson. Brian Patterson was 0.7 faster last lap. Brian Patterson in Clayton corner is 5th, 0.4 behind David Kelsall. David Kelsall is 4th, 0.5 behind Glenn Field. Brian Patterson in Mario Andretti straightaway is 5th, 0.5 behind David Kelsall. Brian Patterson was 0.7 faster last lap. Richard Ogden exiting pits. David Kelsall in the SEs is 4th, 0.4 ahead of Brian Patterson. Max Shepard in turn 1 is 2nd, 0.5 behind Rene Robertson. David Kelsall is P4, 0.5 behind Glenn Field. Max Shepard is second, 0.3 behind Rene Robertson. David Kelsall in Moss Corner is P4, 0.4 behind Glenn Field. Max Shepard is P2, 0.3 behind Rene Robertson. David Kelsall in the SEs is 4th, 0.3 behind Glenn Field. Brian Patterson is P5, 0.4 behind David Kelsall. Max Shepard is second, 0.3 behind Rene Robertson. Brian Patterson in Quebec Corner is 5th, 0.3 behind David Kelsall. 15 minutes remaining in the session. Max Shepard is second, 0.4 behind Rene Robertson. Brian Patterson in Mario Andretti straightaway is P5, 0.1 behind David Kelsall. Brian Patterson passed David Kelsall for 4th. David Kelsall in the SEs on lap 10 is P5, 0.2 behind Brian Patterson. Mark Scott in Mario Andretti straightaway is P9. David Kelsall is 5th, 0.3 behind Brian Patterson. Mark Scott in White's Corner is P9, 0.3 behind Mikołaj Lański. John Astrup in Moss Corner is 6th, 0.4 behind David Kelsall. Mark Scott is P9, 0.2 behind Mikołaj Lański. Mark Scott passed Mikołaj Lański for 8th. Mikołaj Lański in turn 4 is P9, 0.1 behind Mark Scott. Mikołaj Lański passed Mark Scott for P8. Max Shepard is P2, 0.5 behind Rene Robertson. David Kelsall exiting pits. Brian Patterson in Quebec Corner is 4th, 0.5 behind Glenfield. John Astrup in Moss corner on lap 12 is P5, 0.5 behind Brian Patterson. John Astrup was 0.5 faster last lap. Brian Patterson in Mario Andretti straightaway on lap 12 is 4th, 0.2 behind Glenfield. John Astrup is P5, 0.5 behind Brian Patterson. Max Shepard in Clayton corner is P2, 0.5 behind Rene Robertson. Brian Patterson in Clayton corner is 4th, 0.2 ahead of John Astrup. John Astrup is P5, 0.3 behind Brian Patterson. John Astrup was 0.6 faster last lap. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Max Shepard is 2nd, 0.7 behind Rene Robertson. Mark Scott exiting pits. John Astrup in the Essies is P5, 0.3 behind Brian Patterson. John Astrup passed Brian Patterson for 4th. Brian Patterson in White's corner is P5, 0.4 behind John Astrup. Neil Hancock exiting pits. Brian Patterson is now P3. Glenfield exiting pits. John Astrup is P4, 0.1 behind Brian Patterson. Max Shepard in turn 4 is 2nd, 0.5 behind Rene Robertson. John Astrup is P4, 0.3 behind Brian Patterson. John Astrup passed Brian Patterson for P3. Max Shepard in the Essies is 2nd. Best lap is a 1:33.810. 0.142 off the fastest lap. Brian Patterson is P4, 1.7 behind John Astrup. Max Shepard in Quebec corner is 2nd, 0.5 behind Rene Robertson. Brian Patterson is P4, 1.3 behind John Astrup. Rene Robertson in Mario Andretti straightaway is second, battling Max Shepard. Brian Patterson in the Essies is P4, 1.1 behind John Astrup. Rene Robertson in Clayton Corner is second, 3.8 behind Max Shepard. Brian Patterson is P4, 0.9 behind John Astrup. Brian Patterson was 1.0 faster last lap. Rene Robertson in Mario Andretti straightaway is P2, 3.4 behind Max Shepard. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Brian Patterson is fourth, 0.8 behind John Astrup. Rene Robertson is P2, 3.4 behind Max Shepard. Richard Ogden entering the pits is 11th. Richard Ogden exiting pits. Brian Patterson in turn 4 on lap 17 is 4th, 0.6 behind John Astrup. Rene Robertson is second, 3.8 behind Max Shepard. Brian Patterson in White's corner is P4, 2.5 behind John Astrup. Rene Robertson exiting pits. Rene Robertson in Clayton corner is P3, 0.8 ahead of Brian Patterson. Brian Patterson in Moss corner is 4th, 0.8 behind Rene Robertson. Rene Robertson is third, 0.6 ahead of Brian Patterson. Brian Patterson is fourth, 0.4 behind Rene Robertson. Rene Robertson is third, 0.8 ahead of Brian Patterson. Brian Patterson was 7.4 faster last lap. Brian Patterson in turn 4 is fourth, 0.8 behind Rene Robertson. Rene Robertson in Mario Andretti straightaway is P3, 1.0 ahead of Brian Patterson. Brian Patterson in White's corner is P4, 1.1 behind Rene Robertson. Rene Robertson in Clayton corner is third, 0.7 ahead of Brian Patterson. Brian Patterson in Moss corner is fourth, 0.9 behind Rene Robertson. The leader has just finished the race. Max Shepard finished P1. John Astrop finished P2. Rene Robertson finished P3. Brian Patterson finished 4th. Glenfield finished 5th. David Kelsall finished 6th. David Forsyth finished 7th. Neil Hancock finished P10. Richard Ogden is 11th. Richard Ogden finished P11. Mikołaj Lewiński finished P8. Mark Scott finished 9th.